we have a massive pollution problem that's changing the weather.
Yeah.
And we have weather being changed on purpose.
100%. You do have cloud seeding going on.
Yeah, well, there's companies that advertise that if you 100%. Want clear day on your wedding, is your daughter having 100%. A wedding?
But what's happening now is that we have in our petition where Google and some airlines have gotten together, and what they're doing is they've installed monitors on their airplanes, which we're saying we need to do. That's one of the things in our petition is you need to install real-time monitors on all the planes, because what happens is that, and I got to explain this.
Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall. I have my really good friend, Reinette Senum, coming back to the program. She did this, her and a group of researchers, prominent people, came together and they filed a petition with the EPA. She's going to explain it, and that's going to lead into a landmark lawsuit on geoengineering. And it's the first of its kind because they did the petition with the EPA. She's going to tell you what the EPA knows and what they're not telling you, and what is misunderstood about geoengineering and why it's so important. Like everything, we need to get the problems out to the people, and we need the people to help step up and come up with solutions. We're going to talk about a couple of the solutions. We also bring up the fact that the point of this isn't to hurt an industry, because who doesn't want to fly? Or we used also with telecom, who doesn't want to use the internet? We don't want to take away these services. We just want better solutions, cleaner air, or in the case, I bring up 5G when we start doing that. And we don't need to get rid of the internet or Wi-Fi. We need to use different frequencies that modulate, that work with your body. This conversation is going to be mostly about the geoengineering. She did a big webinar. There was thousands, like 4,000 people that showed up for the webinar. And it's leading the country in this fight. And I think you're going to be really impressed what she has to say today. And if you want to see the webinar, it's going to be up on her Substack at Foghorn Express. So just go into Substack and type in Foghorn Express and you'll find her. Otherwise, I'll have the link below. Jim Lee is there. Sayer G is there. Leslie Manokian, she is the president and founder of the Health Freedom Defense Fund. There are just really good people involved with this. So I highly recommend you check it out and see what they got going on. I have a feeling this is going to get a lot more public attention over the next year. But before we get into that, I got to tell you about this baby. This is Kimchi 1, and I have been taking it now every single day. Did you know that kimchi is a fermented food? And it has 900 digestive enzymes. It's more than any other food on the planet. In fact, sauerkraut, one of the next best, has only 28. And a system that's filled with probiotics like kimchi can do for you. You have, let me read this. You have good digestive health. Of course, you have immune support, brain health, cardiovascular health, anti-aging, it helps to remove microplastics. There's really good studies on that. Weight loss. Kim Bright, who's the founder of this company, is talking about over 30% fat reduction in animal studies when they're taking kimchi. Energy, it improves your energy. You get younger looking skin. It also promotes hair growth. How many people as you get older are getting thinner? Your hair is thinning out and you are really looking for something to, especially the guys out there. Kimchi 1. And as far as it helping your immune system, once it does the wonders with your immune system, it helps with pretty much everything. It is a core solution to so many health problems. I highly recommend you get it. If you go to brightcore.com/Sarah and use the code Sarah, you will save 25% on this today. If you call, you can save up to 50% and you'll get a free Revive. It's one of their products. Amazing stuff. So call 888-495-8092 and you will also get free shipping. Make sure you call. You'll save up to 50% and free shipping. 888-495-8092 or use the link below and use a coupon code Sarah if you're in a hurry, but you really do want to save that 50%. Again, 888-495-8092. Call today. You will not regret taking this. Okay, let's get into this conversation with my really good friend, Reinette Senum. Hi, Reinette. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you. It's always great to be here, Sarah.
You have a landmark federal lawsuit on geoengineering, and it is leading the pack. And I want you to share. I know you want to share what's going on. I don't just want you. You want to share what's going on with everybody. And I think people are going to be impressed. You've been working on this for quite some time to make sure you really have your ducks in a row.
Right. So what we've done is we have not officially filed a lawsuit. However, it's the first step you have to take if you're going to file a lawsuit. And that is, this is against the EPA. So this is a petition for rulemaking. And to let people know what's going on, you have to file a petition for rulemaking to an agency such as the EPA to lay the facts, lay all the information forward to say, you're derelict in duty. This is arbitrary and capricious. This is what we know. Here's the science. Here's the data. Here's your own data, your own documents, contradicting what you're putting out to the public. And basically then we give like 180 day, you have 180 days to respond, to either say, yes, you're correct. And, we've been bad, or they say, you're correct, or you're incorrect and we're going to throw it out. And then we still take them to court, because we know from what we worked on for nearly 2 years, it's been like a good year and a half of just putting it all together. And then 6 months before that of just putting the team together. We know that we have a case. So essentially, this petition for rulemaking is a case. So it's a petition for rulemaking. It's aviation aerosol emissions, and aviation induced cloudiness, which is known as AIC, and the endangerment of public health and welfare that's going on. And so what we are specifically talking about, though, this has to be very clear. And I want to also give thanks to the people we have on board, Jim Lee of Climate Viewer. It was all of his information, all of his hard work over the years of collecting data, of the science, of things that people just don't know about. That is really when I started this petition for rulemaking, I would not have done it without him. It was not going to happen, because he had the treasure chest. So he and I are the lead petitioners. Then we have on board Leslie Manoukian. She's president and founder of Health Freedom Defense. Then we have Michael Hogan. He's president and co-founder of Missouri for Clean Skies. And then we have also Leah Wilson, who's executive director, and Valerie Farrell, who is their policy director, and they are with Stand for Health Freedom. And then lastly, we do have Sarah G., who is chairman and founder of Global Wellness Forum. And these are the co-petitioners who are signing on.
You have good people involved.
We do have good people, and they're bringing the weight of their membership, their policy changes, their civic engagement, and some really very groundbreaking landmark court battles and wins. So we have been working on the streaks in the sky specifically, and this is really important for people to understand what we're talking about now. For now almost 20 years, when I was looking up in the sky, I've noticed a significant difference. I'm only about 15 minutes from where I was raised. I used to sail as a child. I looked at the skies, really blue and beautiful. And now there's streaks until finally you don't see the sun. And so what's happened over the last years, we have seen a lot of anti-geoengineering legislation going through, the different houses in the different states. Some have passed, some have not. And where these bills have passed, the state citizens are still seeing the streaks in the sky. Like, well, what's going on? During this time, this is when, it was uncovered. Jim Lee was one of the individuals, and some other folks brought it to the surface, that the states only have control 400 feet above the ground. Everything above that is controlled, the atmosphere is controlled by the EPA. So there's that piece, right? But there's another significant piece going on. When I started a couple years ago, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this geoengineering narrative and we're going to take it to court. I started putting it together because I had to look through the lens of, will this have legal standing in the court? And I have to tell you, Sarah, as a former city council member and mayor, I've been going out there yelling at the top of my lungs, taking a lot of heat, a lot of flack, being called every name, and, having spoof articles and cartoons written about me and so on, about calling out, chemtrails, right? The streaks in the sky. I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on, but this is not normal, right?
So this nutbag has been proven to be correct, but go ahead.
Well, in some ways not. So nonetheless, when we had a catastrophic snowfall here a few years ago, I was like, I'm done. I'm taking this. I don't know what's going on out there in the world, legally. And I reached out to some people I thought would be in the know, did not get their support. In fact, they were vociferous and attacking when I said, I'm ready to carry the baton. Let's get this over the finish line. And so when I thought, well, I'll just do it on my own, I went out, raised $60,000, hired an amazing team of attorneys out of Houston, and we started putting the pieces together, and the narrative fell apart. It fell apart. There was no there. It's like, I can't take this specific narrative with what I've been believing for all these years to court. And I had to back off, and I had a little existential crisis. And I was like, well, now what do I do? Like, what's going on? And then I stepped back, looked at it, was already connected with Jim Lee, and started talking with him, saying, well, just show me your receipts, show me what you have. And when he started doing that, I was like, oh, wait a second. This is a little bit of a different picture than what I thought. So I started working on it. And I was working on it a lot myself for the first, 8, 9 months. Then Jim really came in and started, defining it even more. And last February, I counted about 600 hours working on this thing, and I've lost track since then. So I don't know, I'm at 800 or 1,000 hours now. I don't know. But it's been a lot of work. And it was much more difficult, much more complicated. The legal argument changed along the way because federal laws are changing along the way. So it's like, oh my gosh, I got to find a different legal argument. It was insane. But never once, Sarah, did I ever doubt what we were doing was groundbreaking, going to change the narrative. And ultimately, whether it's this petition for rulemaking or something else, we're going to be effective. And so it was yesterday, finally, after all this work, and having, Leslie Manukian and her attorneys and Jessica Barsati, who's another attorney who was consulting, looking at everything, making sure it's good, getting a lot of eyes on it, that we actually put it into the mail as certified mail, and we sent off to the EPA. We've officially filed our petition for rulemaking. Now, what is it we're saying? Well, ultimately, what's happening is that, yes, there's weather modification programs going on, right? We have historical, documentation, as we know, of Operation Popeye, Vietnam War, cloud seeding over Ho Chi Minh Trail. We have so much documentation of the government experimenting on us, spraying us, stratospheric aerosol injection, marine cloud brightening, solar radiation management. All these things they're saying they're going to do. They have patents for. Do we know they're doing or not? Kind of hard to know because a lot of it is behind closed doors. But this is what happened. When this legislation was all trying to get passed, and we realized the states don't have the power, and there was a little bit more going on. And as I was working on this petition, it became very clear that there's a conflation going on in our skies. And as long as we keep this conflation going on and do not differentiate two very different but equally important things that must be addressed and curtailed, we're never going to get our healthy skies back, ever. And this is what is really, really controversial. So yes, there are geoengineering programs and stuff going on, I'm sure, and they've been going on. It's hard for us to even identify that.
Yeah.
It's mostly clandestine. But the other thing is the streaks in the sky, we've been told by the EPA head, Lee Zeldin, those streaks are just ice crystals and that's it. And there's nothing to worry about. Well, it ends up that the EPA themselves have admitted that it's not just ice crystals, that it is full of sulfur, metals, soot. It is geoengineering our weather. Commercial aviation is creating deluge, is creating drought, is dimming the sun. It's unintentional. However, we also know that now Google AI and other airlines have partnered to monitor the atmosphere in a way where they can, through commercial aviation, dim the sun if they want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So it's starting to take a different look here. One of the things that I remember, I had you on last year, you and Jim, and you were really trying to break down what the narratives are that weren't true and what the narratives are that are true. And so much of what's being told out there isn't quite accurate. And it was important, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was really important to accurately lay out what the science truly is, because if you go to court and you're just completely wrong, you're just going to get blown away. You have to really understand what this science is, and you have to weed out those myths.
100%. So what we know is this. Okay, so again, there's conflation going on in the sky. And this conflation has allowed the EPA for 60 years to turn a blind eye to commercial aviation. So every industry out there has been regulated. Ground transportation, shipping, even like, small piston, planes, industry, energy production, they've all been regulated. The only thing that has not been regulated is commercial aviation. So a little backstory that's important. In 63, when the Clean Air Act came along, everything started to get regulated from that point on, except for they looked at commercial aviation and said, yeah, it's causing streaks in the sky. It's not great, but just the cost of doing business. Well, we had well under 1 million flights a year back then. Now we're at conservatively 40 million flights a year, more than likely 50, but we said, like 40 for our petition. And it's still unregulated. And it's unregulated because we're all looking for the acts of geoengineering, right? These clandestine programs, while they're just crisscrossing. Well, and then we're told, oh, it's nothing but ice crystals. Not true. So what is it? Within the jet fuel itself, there's a few things going on. Believe it or not, the lubricants are putting out a lot of things that we're finding in our rainwater samples. The breakdown of the airplane itself, the motor, the engine, actually wear and tear is also being found. Right, these metals are being found in water samples and so on. And then you also have what's called sulfur dioxide, which turns into acid rain. We're all looking at climate change. And whereas decades ago, we were talking about acid rain and what it's doing to the ozone, and now we've just forgotten about it. Well, we shouldn't, because it's a concern. So now that we're at like 40 million flights a year, this is also all happening up in mostly the northern hemisphere. That's where most of the flights are happening. To let you know scientifically, when sulfur dioxide becomes acid rain, it hits the soil. And we are told that aluminum can only be mined. It's not naturally found. Excuse me, aluminum is the third most abundant mineral in the world. We actually have studies that are talking about how Saharan dust is being found in Chicago and across the United States that contains aluminum and silicate. So what it is people don't realize that the naturally found aluminum in the soil is bound to the silicate, sand. However, when acid rain hits the soil, it releases them. And when that happens, it makes the aluminum bioavailable. So it can be absorbed into the crops. That's why we've got it in our brains and our bodies. Into the trees. That's why they're choking off and dying from the inside out. Into the waterways and into the evaporation cycle and our weather and our clouds and our rain. That has been completely misconstrued. It's like, oh, we're being sprayed with aluminum. It's like, no. The acid rain is releasing it. It's not just commercial aviation. Believe it or not, when you look at acid rain, shipping, commercial shipping is far, far, far worse. All right. Industries like ground transportation, especially when you live in the urban settings along highways, really terrible. So there's hot spots, right, where this is going to be. But what's happening is commercial aviation is just blanketing all the northern hemisphere to the point where we've discovered the northern and the southern hemisphere has been bifurcated. What do I mean by that? The southern hemisphere is still clear blue skies. Why? Because 80 to 90% of all commercial aviation is happening above the equator. We now have in the northern hemisphere a completely different colored sky. It's hazy, milky white. You can't see the sun like you used to. It's this blazing hot white, no longer yellow, and you can barely see the stars as we used to. We now have a different atmosphere completely from the northern to the southern.
Well, I would assume our soil is different too. We're so busy fighting climate change, we're not looking at what ways that we're actually polluting the earth. How much of the geoengineering is clandestine versus commercial aviation?
The thing is, we don't know. That's just
a secret, right? I mean, how you
right? Last night we had our big groundbreaking webinar, right? We had, I think, I can't remember. It was like, I think 3,000 or 4,000 people tapping into the webinar live, and we only had 24 hours.
Wow,
of like,
good for you guys.
I know, it was huge, right? Because people want to know. We're tired of it. We're tired of the assault. So we're like, look, we're going to give you information. It's groundbreaking information. Nobody, no scientist, no legislator, nobody has heard the information we are presenting to you today. And one of the things Leslie said is like, look at folks, we are not saying that it's either or situation, right? These are not mutually exclusive, concepts. What we're saying is what we're taking to court is what we can actually prove, fight, and win. Now, are we saying there's no clandestine programs? Are we saying they're not geoengineering or cloud seeding? Absolutely not. However, those things are so clandestine, are so hidden, difficult to prove real time, that we can't prove it in court. What we can prove in court, what the streaks are and the EPA is capricious and arbitrary and derelict in duty, they shall, as it says, they shall, right? This is what the Clean Air Act says. They must protect us from this. And so what's really also groundbreaking for me and for everyone else when they hear this is that the particulate matter, the soot, right? The metals, all these things, what they do is it's an actual form of cloud seeding. And what people don't realize is that you can use cloud seeding to create rain, or you can use cloud seeding to create drought and dry up storms. So I'll try to explain this as easily as possible. When a storm is coming in, that's when you'll see these little cestas going out and they start cloud seeding. And what they're trying to do is put more seeds, like particulate matter, like soot, it could be soot, it could be mycelium, it could be dust, things like this. When these little seeds are out there, little dust and particles out there, what happens is little moisture droplets collect. And as they collect and collect and collect more, they create a cloud. And when those little particulate matters get heavy with moisture, it will actually rain. So what cloud seeding is doing, it's going out there and putting more seeds in the clouds to get more rain. But if they put too many seeds in the clouds, in the sky, it creates so much particulate matter, so many seeds that the seeds, they don't collect enough moisture to get heavy to rain it out. So what happens is a storm will be coming in, and all of a sudden happens all the time in California. You're like, well, wait a second, you just told me there was a storm coming in and it's gone. What happened? Either it got cloud seeded out, dried up, or pollution, whether it's aviation, commercial, ground transportation, shipping, that particulate matter is its own natural or unnatural industrial way of cloud seeding and can spread out so many seeds. It dries up the rain clouds until it goes further on down into Nebraska or somewhere else, and it's really high up, and then it will finally start to drop down into the naturally formed clouds and create a deluge and massive flooding. And people are like, where did that come from? It's because pollution, particulate matter, soot from all these different industries are actually changing the weather.
A quick break to share with you this wonderful product called Masterpiece. It is proven to taking out graphene oxide, aluminums, heavy metals, microplastics. They also are looking at these MAC addresses, and there's more and more research and there's studies coming out. There's 4 documentaries that are being made on their studies of how they're able to disable MAC addresses that are somehow put into people. This is amazing stuff. I highly recommend. I buy a whole box of it and I make sure my whole family has it. If you are interested in trying this and really cleaning up your body from microplastics, graphene oxide, you can also test yourself. You can get your hair tested, see what you are before and what you are after you use this for a few months. They stand behind what they're doing with tests, studies, and real results. And look for the link below where you can buy Masterpiece yourself. It'll provide you a discount, or you can go to sarahwestall.com under shop. Okay, so we have a massive pollution problem that's changing the weather.
Yeah.
And we have weather being changed on purpose.
100%. You do have cloud seeding going on.
Yeah, well, there's companies that advertise if you
100%.
want clear day on your wedding, is your daughter having 100%.
A wedding. But what's happening now is that we have in our petition where Google and some airlines have gotten together, and what they're doing is they've installed monitors on their airplanes, which we're saying we need to do. That's one of the things in our petition is you need to install real-time monitors on all the planes, because what happens is that, and I got to explain this. Okay, so when sometimes you see streaks in the sky, sometimes you don't. And they're this way, they're that way, they crisscross. That's because aviation planes, they fly north, south, east, west, there's crisscrosses, and they might crisscross way over here, the wind blows, and then you see the crisscrosses, and then later on it turns into this white haze and you have no sun. So that's why even if you're not near an airport or international or small, you're seeing crisscrosses is because, the wind blows, right? There's trade winds. And so what's happening is that the times you see these streaks or not is all because of atmospheric conditions. And this was the big aha moment for me. 2 years ago, Jeff Ray came along, meteorologist, and he said, Reinette, I've been seeing your work with Save Our Skies. I'd like to assist you. I'm a meteorologist. I was with the Air Force on an aircraft carrier. It was my job. What you don't know is every day, twice a day around the world, there's these weather people that go out with these little weather balloons, a thing called a radiosonde, little like machine that collects all the data. They release it everywhere, like every 200 miles around the planet. Not that terribly accurate, but that's what we do. and it collects the barometric pressure, the moisture, the temperature, the particulate matter, all these things. They put it into a chart. He looks at what's called the Appleman chart. He goes, my job on the aircraft carrier when we were out to sea was to see where the airplanes, the jets could take off, fly, and come back at what level without the atmospheric conditions being so right that it leaves a persistent contrail showing the enemy where our aircraft carrier is or was.
Yep.
And I was like, wait. I'm like, that's a job? Because this is what I'm going to do for you, Reinette. The next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to look at this Appleson data. I'm going to look at the data, and I'm going to tell you whether or not and at what level you're going to see streaks in the sky. And I was like, okay, good luck with that. And every day for almost 3 weeks, he did. And it was a game changer for me. I realized, oh my gosh, it's atmospheric conditions. When you have enough moisture, like lots of moisture, you have the particulate matter, the seeds, you have the barometric pressure, right? And you have extremely cold, like 44 below Fahrenheit or Celsius. And so when that is just right, you get the crisscrosses. And sometimes you'll see something like, it looks like a plane is spewing and then it stops and then it starts again. Well, that's because there's pockets of warm air or pockets of not enough moisture. And then those streaks will be made and they'll keep going and traveling with the winds, and they'll be spreading out over time. So you might be another state or two away, but the streaks that are now completely blocking out your sun started in California. And when I realized that, I was like, holy cow. And it is dimming the sun. I mean, economies, sunshine economies are being affected by this. Crops are being affected by this. Mental, emotional, physical health, vitamin D absorption is being affected by this. We are being sprayed with, not sprayed, but it's being spewed out, the sulfur dioxide and the heavy metals and the soot. Not good for anybody. And there's been very few American studies, very little monitoring in America. The approach by the EPA is just turn the other cheek. Do not speak to it. If you don't speak about it, you're not responsible. But we've caught them with their pants down. Like, no. Here are your internal conferences and reports. You know about it. Lee Zeldin, you just created 2 websites.
So they know about it.
They know about it.
Do they openly talk about it behind closed doors?
100%. We've got the reports. And they know it's a problem, and they plan on doing something about it by 2050.
2050,
by 2050.
God. Okay, so what we want them to move on it now.
Well, and they are, and they will.
Well, they behind the scenes? They just don't want to.
No. We're going to force their hands. We are forcing their hands.
Okay,
right?
so this is what your goal. What is your goal? Like, if you had your goal is to let the population see it and to force them to do something about it.
Right. There's a twofold essentially. One is to force the EPA to do its job. This is what Congress passed. This is your job. Every industry, you don't have favors. You can't pick and choose. So essentially in the laws, right, in the Clean Air Act, it says shall, right? The law says shall, not may, right? The Clean Air Act of 63, shall. They're not doing the shall, right? EPA already knows that these emissions are dangerous, right? In 2023, they issued an endangerment finding for lead from aircraft engines, right? And they've also in 24 they finalized a matter standards for large turbine engines, so they know. But they're not applying it to commercial aviation. And the science is not in dispute. The science is very, very clear. We have peer reviewed. We have all the data that comes from the EPA itself. So while they're saying to the public, it's just water, ice crystals, internally, their reports, their data is saying something completely different.
So you have bombshells. I mean, not bombshells. Yeah. You have the smoking guns. So if you get to court, you have the smoking guns to show that they're not telling the American people the truth. Now,
100%.
Now, are you concerned? I've seen so much with our court systems. Are you concerned that there will be some kind of dismissal behavior? I mean,
the thing is this. Okay, a couple of things. One is, we're asking them to give this a docket number, to open up for public comment, right? And to do as they are required by law to do. Now, they might just in the end say, nah, we're going to dismiss it altogether and just throw it out. We can still, and we will still take them to court. But this is even more important, is that as a former elected official, all I can say is information is power. And the more informed and educated the public is, the more powerful we are. I've seen this at public comment at the mic over and over and over again. So our objective is not just to hold the EPA's feet to the fire. It is also to educate the public to what's really going on and say, hey, look at folks, This is not an either or. It's not either geoengineering or it's commercial aviation. It's one or the other. It's both. They are being conflated, and they are both not good for us. And they both can be addressed, but not as long as you conflate them. As long as you confuse the matter and the facts and you conflate it, we can't address the issues and be effective. And so one of the big things is that we're using this petition as a type of white paper to educate our legislators, to educate the advocates and the concerned citizens and the mothers and everyone else out there and the podcasters and the people who are interviewing and the journalists to say, hey, look at guys, this is the story. This is the first time ever in history that a small group of dedicated people have actually gone in there and parsed out fact from fiction, separated it out and said, this is what's going on. This is how you address that. This is what's going on here, and this is how you address that. And so one of the most important things is to correct the narrative, and that's what this petition does, starting yesterday.
Okay, because I know this is groundbreaking, and you have so many good people involved. There's other activities going on all over the place. How is it different? Sometimes I think other activities are good, right? Because you get more going on and more eyeballs on the situation, but if they're confusing it and they're conflating it doesn't matter? Or are you, it doesn't.
Well, to be very frank, this is, if you really mean business about what you've got, right? And you think you have some legal standing, you start with a petition for rulemaking. Nobody's ever done that. Well, nobody's ever put their name, their pen, their reputation on the line, like myself, Jim, and the rest of the co-petitioners. It's like, folks, we're putting our names and our reputations on that. We are signing on to this petition. And whether it goes through or not, what we're also signing on is to the data, the science, and what we've put forward. We stand by it. Nobody's ever done that. Not with geoengineering, not to this level ever.
Wow. So that's a big thing. And the goal is to get them to acknowledge what they've already acknowledged privately, get that out to the public, and then come up with solutions quickly without, there's always solutions that we can have without getting rid of air travel. And
we're not. I make that very, very clear. Okay. We made this clear last night. A couple things. First of all, informed consent is a foundational right, and we have not been informed by the EPA what's really going on. In fact, they're hiding the information and they're gaslighting the American public. That's the other thing. The other thing is there's Loper Bright changed everything. This was a Supreme Court decision around you can't give deference to agencies and say, oh, Mr. Judge, we really know what's going on. Just decide in our favor. That changed everything as well. So those are some really big, big things, as well as the science is actually not in dispute on this. It's really, really pretty heavy. So there's that. And so at this point in time, what we're doing is it's groundbreaking, and we're putting forward the information to say, look, this is what's really going on. We've got the solution. So we're not just saying, hey, EPA, you're bad. We also present, this is how you change. This is the most fast, effective, and safe way to clean up the skies, remove the streaks, get rid of the acid rain. We are not part of any type of United Nations 2030, 2050 agenda. We do not believe in stopping and preventing people from flying. We believe traveling is your God-given, option and choice. We are not about sustainable aviation fuels. We're not about curtailing flights and only the rich can fly. In fact, what we presented at the top of the webinar last night was boom, 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 boom. This is how you do it. These are the solutions. We expect action. And if not, we'll see you in court.
And because that's what people are going to think. Only a certain amount of people can fly, and they're going to make it super expensive and all this stuff. So that is not the intent.
Absolutely not. There's no need to. There's no reason to.
Once we address, humans have an ability, once we know what the problem is and everybody knows about it, it's kind of amazing how fast solutions come to the forefront.
I want to reckon with this. This is really a lovely story, and I put this out on my Substack quite a few months ago. It's about the 1894 Great Horse Manure Crisis.
Yeah, I remember that story. This is great.
It was great. So that's what I say to people. Like, first of all,
no, tell people the story before we move on.
I will. This is the story. So when you have a thought, and on spiritual level, when you have a thought, it kind of puts that thought, like creates a little like bubble out in the morphogenetic field, right? So it's out there, and then it becomes accessible to everyone else, right? It's kind of like that 100th monkey thing where there's a monkey, on an island washing a fruit, and all of a sudden all the other monkeys and all the other islands are like, hey, I think I know how to wash a fruit. Where did that idea come from? You connected to this field that popped up, out there in the ethers.
Yep.
So what we're doing is also for me very much on a spiritual level, and I've been writing this thing with that in mind. And so with the great horse manure crisis of 1894, what happened was there were so many horse and buggies and so much horse manure in the streets, it was creating a health crisis, that the manure was climbing up and higher, and they had nowhere or any way to get rid of it. And so finally, the experts, the scientists, politicians are saying, you guys, we have a problem. We're going to have to ban the horse. And everyone's saying, you can't ban the horse. That's how we get our wagons around. Well, okay, so that was in 1894. But once they actually said, hey, we got a problem, we're hitting a crisis here. Within 15 years later, you can look on the streets of New York or any urban setting, and you didn't see a horse carriage. You didn't see a horse. You didn't see a carriage. You saw something new that was called the automobile. So what I'm putting forward is, folks, as soon as we identify and we address what's really going on and that we have an issue here, and it's very clear and it's factual, based on facts, once it hits a tipping point, the solutions are going to manifest.
That's right.
And that's where I let go.
I believe that too.
Our job is we're putting you the facts. We're not tied to exactly how it's going to be, solved. We're putting the facts forward, and then, necessity is the mother of all invention. We have to change something. And it could be electrified planes. I mean, there's a lot, plasma planes. There's a lot out there right now that's on the brink of popping up. And once you realize, oh my gosh, we can't keep doing this, but we have to keep flying. We want to fly. Those things are going to come to the surface. Right. People are going to invest in them, and they're going to be on the market, and we're going to be in them sooner than later, just like we saw just over 100 years ago.
I 100% agree. I always say that when we're talking about problems, like we just got to get more people engaged, because there are scientists and there's inventors all over the place. And if you are one, step up, because I know you can solve the problem. There's people everywhere. Humans have the ability to be very creative.
Right. And so we have been told for many, many years now that there's nothing we can do. Just stay indoors when you see the streaks. This is what they are. Legally, there's no recourse. There's no redress in courts. And when we started, uncovering this and researching it, and we started the petition, it was like, excuse me, I beg to differ. There is recourse. There is redress in the courts, and nobody has actually pursued it. Why do I know this? Because there's never been a petition for rulemaking like this submitted to the agency that has control and legal responsibility to keep our atmosphere clean. So
how can people help you? Can they watch that webinar? And
yes. So actually, just right now, you and I are talking. We just had the webinar last night. I am in the middle of putting my Substack up with the petition for rulemaking, so you can read it. I will then also have an executive summary breaking down what you just read, because it is actually a bit thick. I mean, it's I have to tell you folks, Jim Lee's been on this for years. I've been learning about this the last couple of years, but it's a lot of information to digest, and it is a paradigm shift. I ask you to keep an open and malleable mind, but I do have an executive summary I will be including just to make you go, oh, okay, that's what I'm reading, because I don't understand. What are you saying? So I've got that. We have the webinar, and on the top of my Substack, again, I'll be putting out today, that's May 5th. I will also have the webinar from last night, as well as a 2-minute little video that was getting people excited. Michael Hogan, who's one of our co-petitioners, that put out just on X yesterday. So it was just yesterday, the day before. So, and that got a lot of people excited and got a lot of people to jump on board to watch the actual webinar. So then with that, very important, whether it's Leslie Manookian of Health Defense, Freedom Defense, or Jim Lee of Climate Viewer, and he's also on Substack, or me, what we're going to be doing over the course of weeks and probably months, because this is such a deep topic,
for sure,
is we're going to continue section by section by section, breaking down what it is we're talking about, the science, the data, the solutions, the legal argument, all of that. We're just going to continue for months now, breaking it down, because it is very heavy. It is very thick. The atmosphere is very dynamic. This includes meteorology. This includes jet fuel chemistry. All these different levels, right? It includes EPA policy and so on, and legislation, why it's working, why it's not. We're going to be unpacking this for months. So I do encourage people, jump on Jim Lee's, jump on to Michael Hogan's Missouri for Clean Skies on X, Leslie Manukian as well. Jump on there. We're going to be sharing all this because, again, it's not just to hold the EPA's feet to the fire. It's also to educate the public to what's really, really going on, saying you're not wrong. People are not wrong about what's clandestine, geoengineering, cloud, stratospheric aerosol injection. Not wrong. It's just two things are being conflated. And as long as they stay conflated, we can't affect real change.
Just a quick break from the program. I need to share with you an urgent manner about scam gold IRAs and the important need to make sure that you're working with a trusted company in the precious metal space. I have had hundreds of people come to me now where they have lost 50, 60, 70% of their life savings in these scam gold IRAs. We are having nearly 100% success rate getting their money back. If you have put your life savings into a gold IRA, I implore you to look and see if you have been scammed. Don't trust the company that sold it to you. Make sure you understand what you can get as a buyback value for the gold or silver that you have in your IRA. If you have noticed a significant drop in what you invested, you have more than likely been scammed. We can help you, and there's no shame. Go to sarahwestall.com/Miles Franklin, fill out that form, and we will help you get your life savings back. Well, that's excellent. I know you are always on the forefront. You just take it on. You've been talking about 5G and other things too. Yeah. And I know, and I always want to, I have to turn off I'm kind of switching topics here a little bit. I have to turn off my Wi-Fi every night now. Like so I have to. And I related to that. Once enough people realize that that is an issue, and all we have to do, this isn't all, but it's really not that big of a deal if we concentrate on it. We just change the frequencies. There's frequencies that work with us, and there's frequencies that harm us. We need 100%. To create, we just need to be pumping out frequencies that harmonize with the human body. Right.
And we're frequencies, right? We're beings of frequency. And so there's bad frequencies, harmful, and there's good. And so we don't have to be assaulted like this, right? We don't have to have Wi-Fi and cell towers as hot as they are. We are the hottest in the world, like way beyond the safety standards of our other nations. It's insane. Why? No offense, but if you're sick, somebody on the back end makes a lot of money, right? They all feeds to the same
something's going on.
Right, something's going on. So
solved.
We're not Luddites. We're not saying that you can't do this stuff. We're just saying do it safely, do it intelligently. Right, just like with flying, we're not saying stop flying. I mean, I just got back from Japan a couple of days ago. I mean, I flew a long way. I want to go fly and see people. I don't want to have to, drive my car across the nation. But it can be done intelligently and safely. And we're holding the EPA,
intelligent and safely, and you're holding them accountable. I always say, let's take our brains off the shelf, put them back in, and let's solve these problems. Right?
And don't take it. And don't take it personally.
Crank them back up. No, it does.
Yeah, we're all learning. I mean, we're all learning I learn something every day, especially on this topic. I mean, I'm still very much a teacher. When I learn something, I try to put it forward for you to figure it out, do your own research, but still learning every single day. I mean, it's behemoth, and just be good to yourself and understand that, we're not accusing anybody of anything for the most part. We're just saying we've got to clear the story. We got to get the facts right because people are really, really frustrated. And especially now that legislation's done nothing. Why? We've just came with you with the answers, no costs. We put our names out there. We've attached them, our reputations, and we're taking this to court. And we're the first ever to do a petition for rulemaking that directly is addressing the streaks in the sky, which ultimately does cause its type of geoengineering and weather modification.
I do like to say we need to take our brains off the shelf and put them back in and crank them on and take the rest off because I've been saying this for a while. Because, I mean, it's challenging people who aren't thinking about it. It's also, and then it's also not to point fingers, but to say we need to get better as a class of human beings. We're in the class of 2026 right now.
Well, can I?
we need to step it up.
Well, I want to speak to that. So COVID, one of the reasons why this petition even exists is because of COVID, because I realized that for 15 years, let's say before COVID, I gave over a lot of my agencies to the talking heads, to the people who said, I'm the expert and I know and listen to me and don't question a thing. And I'm like, oh, they sound like the expert. They got the tone. Okay. So
that's right. They're dressed right. They got the tone.
They sound authoritative. So then COVID struck. And by then, and I was seeing stuff behind the scenes because I was mayor when COVID struck. So I was seeing things behind the scenes where I'm like, wait a second, this is not normal political protocol. This is not how we usually have meetings and who's in charge. And everything was basically like, do as we say, don't ask questions. And the only way out is through a vaccine before the vaccine even existed. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? That was a game changer. I mean, I've always been an activist. I've always been grassroots in the trenches, pushing the envelope, being controversial, always. But this was next level. Then I started going like, wait a second. And myself, my partner, some around us started doing the deep dive, going, wait a second, came to the surface with a very different, very different narrative. So at that point in time, I realized, holy cow, I was giving my agency over to a lot of talking heads. So then when I came back and COVID started to kind of cool down, I went back to geoengineering, which was on the forefront of my activism before COVID. And I revisited it. And when I decided to take it to court, I had to look through, Sarah, a very different lens. And that lens was, will this have legal standing? Will this be held up in a court of law? And I don't get into whether the court's, captured or it doesn't matter. My lens is, will this have legal standing in court? And that narrative that I had been perpetuating for years without question, a lot of it was incorrect. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And when I started looking through the legal lens, that changed my entire perspective on everything. And that has changed the narrative. And that's why we have the petition today.
Well, you're just awesome. Okay. What is your Substack? Where can people find you? And
so I would say I am on Facebook, but really the best thing where I'm most active is Substack. I do put stuff on Instagram, Reinette Senum 2.0. You can find me on Facebook, Reinette Senum, but Reinette Senum's foghornexpress.substack.com. So if you go onto substack.com, pop in Foghorn Express, you'll find me. I'm the only foghorn out there. And this is where I'm the most immediate. This is where I'm the most communicative. I'm in the comments. I'm reading comments. Can't always.
You're always involved. You're so good with your Substack.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. And I'm just, I know there's a lot of talking heads out there, and you're not one of them. I have to say, I'm so grateful. You are very much like a sister to me. We talk all the time, and you're the real deal. Because why? You present the issues and the problems, but you also present the solutions. Like, hey, these are the actionable items we can undertake to get over the hurdle. And so I try to do that a lot. Like, hey, you need to know about this. Here's a congressional bill being pushed. Here's the FAA proposed, rule changes themselves, and that you need to know. And here's a deadline in action now. Here's a petition. Sign this. And as much as I know all the system is corrupt, there's all these captured agencies. I know that. I've experienced it firsthand. I go and lobby regularly down in Sacramento at the Capitol. I know that, but I have to tell you, even today, Sarah, we have seen a collection of voices, of League of Cities, of League of Mayors coming together, pushing back, being vocal, even today, and stopping bills. Not that they're not going to come back, not that they're not going to try to wear us out and do it again, or put them into, other bills, bury them in bills, but nonetheless, our voices do matter. And this is an election year, a very important one, midterms, and our voices are important more now than ever. So when people say there's nothing you can do, I know it's an uphill battle. I'm in the battlefield, but I also know I've seen the wins. And you can't say that our voices, especially when they're collective, especially when they're many, that we don't affect change.
Well, and it's also weird. We don't want to hurt the aviation industry. We don't want to. Let's come together. Come on, industry. What can we do? We don't want you to be over. We don't want you to be overburdened with regulation. In fact, maybe some regulate. I don't know about that industry, but I know telecoms. We don't want you to be overburdened with regulation. Some regulations should go away, but we do not want you hurting us. Let's change, like in telecom, change the frequency.
I have to tell you something. Ironically, this petition for rulemaking is saving the aviation industry. Let me tell you why. Because all this anti-geoengineering legislation that they have is so broad that the way they've written the laws, they're actually unintentionally including commercial aviation. So we're like, hey guys, sorry, but the way you've written this, you would actually be able to take down the aviation industry. It's all this patchwork. You've got to actually clarify it at a federal level, which is the EPA. Because right now, the way the current state legislation is that you could destroy the commercial aviation as that legislation stands.
And that's the point. We need to work with industry to solve problems.
Yes.
And the people within these industries, they don't want it either. And so that's why they need to be informed, and we need to do it in ways that don't, throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't want to do that. Let's do it in a way that's good for our country, and it doesn't take down industry, but we're doing it in a way that makes everyone healthier. And telecom's a big one. Let's just change out the flipping frequency.
The telecoms are huge. I'm fighting that. And again, I said to folks, like, I'm not a Luddite people. I had the first cell phone store in Nevada County, California in 1990. I was selling Motorola bag phones and putting the antenna on top of your car and installing the cable, So, I'm not a Luddite. In fact, I'm actually an early adopter that way. I'm always, but I believe in doing it safely. I believe doing it selectively and carefully, intelligently, where you're not just saturating us with all the stuff that's not necessary. I don't want the telecoms to go away. I just want to be done safely and intelligently at a level and with frequencies that is not harming us or the biosphere or the wildlife. And it can be done. And that's why we're pressuring them. Just do better. That's it.
Do better. Well, thank you so much. You were amazing. And thank you for being my friend. You're awesome. I love you too. We'll talk to you soon.
5-1. Thank you.